So for the last one for the night, it's Richard Browd, who says, nobody knows how things work anymore. A box with wires and circuit boards is a bomb, but this bomb doesn't have any explosives or a detonator. Multi-rotor RC aircraft are called drones because that is a scary name. Climate's changings are called disasters again because that's scary. Used to be that a high school education could prevent you from being duped so easily. Now almost everyone is so ignorant on how the things actually work that it is easy to scare almost everybody all of the time. That is a wonderful, wonderful question. That's a great question. It's a great insight. Hey, look, it's Scott Ott. Scott Ott, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Ott. Scotty Ott, who's just made an appearance here live in the comments section, is thinking about doing a Ustream show called The Scott Ott Show, or The Scott Ott Hour, or something. And I invited him to come watch the Stratosphere Lounge. We had a couple of internet problems, Scotty, but as you can see, it's pretty cool and it works great. And you yourself could watch the comments stream when I log in, and then you can. Who am I kidding? I'm not going to log in and watch your show, but you get hypothetically, Scott. No, I think it's great. I think Scott Ott is one of the best guys I ever met in life, and he's hilarious and he's really deep. He knows more about the founding of this country than any 5 people I've ever met. And I think if Scott Ott had a show called the Scott Ott Hour, I genuinely would watch it, and I think I would get all of you guys to watch it too. I would recommend it highly. He's a really, really good, clever, funny guy. He's not the best, cleverest, funniest guy I know, but he's up there. It's good to see you, Scotty. So here's the question, right? I mean, basically what it says is, since nobody understands how anything works anymore, since college educations don't really give us anything useful anymore, people can be duped into anything. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking earlier about chemtrails, right? If you don't know how a jet engine works, then why would you not believe that they're spraying chemicals? If the contrails look different then and they look different now, then, and somebody says, see, they're spraying poison, and you don't know anything about it, then that's a great example. Richard, I know how jet engines work. I know what a high bypass engine is and why it's different, why it makes a more persistent contrail, so I don't believe this chemtrail nonsense, which is unbelievable for any number of reasons. So I actually kind of think that it's not just a question of how things work inside the box, although I do not disagree with you at all. At all. I think what's a more important quality to teach is skepticism. And skepticism is being demonized with the climate change thing. You're a skeptic. It's like, is it really gone that far? Being a skeptic is the highest compliment in science. The highest compliment in science is to say, I don't know, we should test this. Well, you're skeptical. The science is settled. Well, the science was settled when the Earth was flat, and the science was settled when this Earth was the center of the universe, and the science was settled when gravity was an invisible cable connecting 2 planets, and the science has been settled on everything. Science was settled on the steady state universe. The science was settled on lack of continental drift. The science was settled on all sorts of things. And, germs being spread through the air and vapors and, So what I think is the most important thing is not so much to talk about how things work inside the box, although that's extremely useful. I think the thing to talk about is getting people to learn how to think. Getting them to learn how to think, how to challenge things, how to be skeptical of things. And, it's probably a good place to close, but, we were talking earlier about the moon landing being faked and about 9/11 being faked and about chemicals being sprayed from airplanes, these chemtrails, and the Loch Ness Monster and all the rest. And frankly, the best way to debunk one of these conspiracy theories, or any theory, look, the best way to debunk or to challenge anything is to grant the premise and think it through. And when it comes to these nutty conspiracy theories, this is the best way to do it. And the best way to do it is this. Grant the premise, right? Grant it. Let's assume that their theory is correct. Now, if you grant the premise, certain things have to happen, and that's when you get into trouble. If there is a plesiosaur in Loch Ness, it is an air-breathing dinosaur. It's going to have to surface 10 times an hour for air. The loch is of limited size, and so if there is an air-breathing plesiosaur in Loch Ness, it's not going to surface once every 60 years, 20 miles away, and leave just a little wake, even though no other sign of it. It's going to pop its head up every 10 minutes the same way that a whale does. So there is no Loch Ness monster, period. Because you cannot, using their own theory, you can't explain the theory. 9/11 inside job, how many people had to be on the inside? Watergate consisted of what, 3 people, and there's a leak? No, it's impossible. It's just impossible. Brought down by detonations? No, I told you. It takes months to prepare a building for so-called implosion. Where were the det cords? Where were the? You can't blow up explosives. You blew up explosives in suitcases on the floor of the World Trade Center. You blow the windows out, the building wouldn't come down. It's just not true. My theory, on the other hand, I can explain the whole thing. I can explain to you exactly what happened on 9/11. I can explain to you exactly what happened on the moon landing. I can explain to you what about jet engines and so on. So it's this kind of skeptical testing thing. But the way you do it is you have to grant the premise and see where it goes. Just off the fly with this person talking about chemtrails, it's like, well, are they commercial jets? Well, I don't know. Well, somebody has to know. You don't get to say, I don't know. Yeah, they're commercial airliners. All right, so why are the pilots doing this? Well, they're paying them tons of money. And if they tell anybody, then they're going to come after their kids. How much money would you have to be paid to poison your own people? It's so irrational that it's a sign of mental illness. And furthermore, it's also a sign of a deep-seated, really deep-seated fundamental loathing of people. The idea, and you know, and ultimately it all goes down to the big reward, right? Everything always, all the time, everything always, all the time with the left comes down to unearned moral superiority. So they're against chemtrails because pilots are being paid lots of money to poison American citizens. They were taking lots of money. But I would never take that kind of money because I love people and I'm a good person. You couldn't pay me enough money to spray poison on the American people because I'm a liberal. How many conservative pilots do you think you could find to be talked into spraying poison on the American people? The answer is none. None. That's the answer. All right, we ran a pretty quick show here, and PAX 77-1 just said, Scott, please ask Bill a question. So let's unveil the now witness the awesome firepower of this fully armed and operational live stream TV thing. So I'm going to just basically, I don't know, I do a little dog and pony show here. Scotty, go ahead, you're there. You get to ask me one question to close the show because we're doing a little shorter one tonight. It's only an hour and 50 minutes instead of the usual 7 hours and 90 or whatever it is. So I'll just sit there and wait for Scott to ask. He says, Ari's on the last question. Scott's trying to get out of it. Come on, Scotty, you can do it. It doesn't matter if it's personal. If it's personal, I'll just lie. Yeah. So these people, they need something. They're broken. They're so broken, and their sense of self-esteem is so low that they have to be a part of this, this secret kind of, we possess the secret knowledge. And unlike those evil conservative Republicans who brought down the World Trade Centers and killed thousands of American citizens and who are poisoning people from the air and who faked the moon landing in order to nuke Russia or whatever other reason. We're better than that. You're just an idiot, actually. You're just kind of really something wrong with you. There's something fundamentally wrong with you. You're really, really broken. And you're dumber than a box of hammers, by the way. Dumber than a box of hammers. So we're still waiting for Scott out here to ask the all-time question because now he's on the spot. See, Scotty, if you can't come up with a question, can you really run a whole show? There, I've thrown it right back in your face. Come on, buddy, you can do it. Gotta get something. We're looking for the final. I don't know, man. I don't know. Joe Baseball says, ask Bill about RK. Don't ask me about RK. Viper Chick says, ask him how he got skid. Don't ask me that either. That's another hour each. We've all heard that story 100 times. Come on, Scotty, you can do it. No. Anyway, I am never. I never stop being surprised at how thin the arguments of the left are. Just how thin they are. Here we go. Bill, how do you balance the intensity of issues with the need to be happy and relaxed? Now, that's a superb question, Scotty, and the answer is I don't. That's why I'm basically just a walking stress pill of rage and tachycardia. I told you about a personal question. Boy, that's pretty much it. That's probably the most personal question I could answer. And, since you asked me, the great thing about this show is I've always been just completely honest about things, and I've never, ever, ever shied away from answering a question pretty much straight on, the personal ones especially. It's been a really bad summer. It's been a bad year for me personally. My job is to every day wade into the things that many of you are kind of in on. Scott's got the same job as I do. We have to wait. We don't just get to watch and kind of turn away from this destruction of everything that we love, and not just that we love, everything that's good for people. Everything. It really is the last best hope of humanity. This whole freedom, limited government, freedom of speech, freedom of belief, you can get in a car and go someplace. All that stuff is. Scott understands it, and I understand it. Most of you understand it. It's not the default condition of mankind. It's not how things always were and always will be. It's very rare. It's very precious. Has to be defended. And guys like Scott and me, and many of you as well, every day we go out there and we have to watch this being destroyed, intentionally destroyed. The roots of it just chopped up by people who hate it because it limits their power, or their image of themselves, or their narcissistic vision of themselves. And just the fact that watching the world, watching this country take these kind of hits is just awfully, awfully hard psychically. It's tough. When I have bad weekends, and usually it's worse for me on the weekends. During the week I get to at least work, but during the weekends sometimes it can get really awful. And I realized, to my despair, that I honestly do not see an upward trend line in this country anywhere. I just don't see one trend line that is up. The economy is in terrible trouble. The amount of debt is enormous and getting higher. The unemployment rate continues to go up. People are getting more and more miserable. We don't have a big space mission coming up. We don't even have a little space mission coming up. Electronics are not getting enormously faster. It's not like we're coming out with new things like iPad. Even the toys are getting boring. No one has a sense of higher purpose. No one has a sense of I don't believe in sacrifice. And when I say higher purpose, I don't mean like, this social thing. It's just like there's with the exception of the military, and even the military, right? We're talking about this too. There are very few places where you can go and be surrounded by hardworking, competent people who are trying to move the ball. Progress used to mean things like, well, now we fly faster. Now we fly higher. It used to take us 7 hours to get from LA to New York. Now we can get there in 5. And it's been 5 for 70 years now. It's like there is no actual progress because it's been killed. One of the reasons it's been killed is because we've been demonizing energy, but most of the reason it's been killed is because we've been demonized by people that hate us and everything we stand for. And they came into our system with a lot of different entry routes. I mean, the Frankfurt School was in the 20s. They came here in the 30s and 40s. They did all kinds of things to destroy our belief in every single American institution. But I mean, the progressive movement was here before that, And you hear people saying, "Oh, well, we gave Indians smallpox and tried to exterminate them with biological weapons, and we did this 30 years before germ theory." That's a remarkable achievement, So it's tough. And unlike Scott, who has a terrific family, and I've met them all, and they're just terrific, and Scott is just really grounded, Steve Green the same way. I don't mean to sound weepy or, sad or anything about this, but I'm kind of out here by myself. That's just the path I've chosen, but there's not a lot of sanctuary for me. I just have to, I've got, I mean, Glenn Beck does what I do. He does it very, very, very well. And Glenn Beck has a staff of hundreds, and he's a superb businessman. I'm a crummy businessman. It's me and one other person. We had had all kinds of problems again that have to be put out, and it's just nonstop stress. And I think, I wasn't going to really talk about this for a while. I actually had something. I had something that it's not really an announcement. I don't really need to make an announcement. Just something that's helping me cope a little bit. And I might as well just say it here to close the show, I guess. I've been wanting to make these movies, and I haven't been able to because I have so much content to shovel out. I mean, it's just amazing how much work I have to do. On a given week, I might put out, we just got enough time over targets to put them back together again, but I might put out 10 videos a week, maybe, when you count trifecta segments, firewall, afterburner, hot seat, time over target. It's a lot. Stratosphere Lounge, 7, 8, 9, 10 a week. It's a lot. And I'm trying to get these movies done, and I can't do both at the same time. And so, somewhere about 3 weeks ago, I was just really feeling it. I mean, just the stress is just overwhelming, and I suddenly just had this thought, just clear as day. We're about to have to gear up. It's not a time for me to relax. I mean, I kind of took the summer off in a lot of ways, but we got another big fight ahead of us, and we can't lose this fight. I mean, I don't know how much the country is so strong, but I don't know how long we can hang on. So I just kind of realized I've been doing this for probably 11 years or so, and I've decided that I am going to continue to do this political messaging through the inauguration on January 20th of 2017, I think. Go one more, and I mean, I'm going to work at it really hard. I'm going to push it. This is a real important election. I'm going to give it everything I've got for the next 15 months, and that's all I'm going to do is just dig in. And the thought that comforted me about this was, how I feel about, stolen honor and how sensitive I am to those things, and, hanging out with actual fighter pilots who gave me a call sign is an enormous honor because I don't deserve it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this political stuff through Inauguration Day, and then I will have done 12 years. And the thing that helped me, I think, quite a bit is 12 years is 3 tours. I know what I do is not to be compared with what people in the military do, because people in the military risk their actual lives and they get shot at and killed. Although I do get my fair share of death threats as well, I guess. But I do what I do because I love this country and I love the ideas that it was founded on. And I kind of think that by Inauguration Day of 2017, that'll be 3 tours, 3 4-year tours. And I wouldn't stop doing it after that, but I think that's time when I would go into the reserves and get on with these movies, because I get so much more satisfaction out of it and so much more fun collaborating with people, and I don't have to use first person singular. Look, we got a lot of heavy lifting ahead, and you're going to have my full attention and my full efforts between now and the election, and then after the election, whoever goes one way or another, I want to be able to say that I fought this guy from the day he was sworn in until the day he was sworn out, and before then too. But yeah, it's hard, and without any family support, no immediate family, no family of my own, it's tough, and it's stressful, Scotty, and the stress as well as I do, and you're a target as I am as well. But I see you with your family, and I see how happy you are and how happy they are, and I know it's not all happiness. I know it's there's a lot of stuff behind it. But Steve, our friend Steve Green too, I mean, he does the show. He has his martini. He goes back to his little castle in the hills over Colorado, and he's got his son and his wife and everything, and it's great. And it's, I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it, and I'm getting a lot of nightmares for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, bad nightmares, and pretty much every time, and they're always the same. They're like combat nightmares. I mean, physical fights, gunfights, this kind of thing. I'll give you an example. One of the reasons I've been missing some deadlines on membership stuff is because lately been getting very little sleep, and I don't remember most of these things, but I remember one pretty clearly. It just happened about a couple days ago. I just had this is the kind of thing that I guess I'm just trying to process in my sleep. I go to a lot of events and I get a lot of pictures taken. It's my favorite part of the job, is going out to speaking events and then hanging out with people afterwards and talking with people, and they're so lovely and they're so sweet and they're so nice, and in this dream I had this I saw this picture, and it was a typical picture that I've done hundreds, if not thousands of. And I'm just finished talking, and I'm in my suit, and somebody's come up, and I've got my arm around them, and I'm smiling, and they've got this kind of different expression on their face. And when I look at the photograph, what I can see in the photograph, but what I couldn't see at the time, is on the right, they're holding this big frickin' knife. They've got this big knife right there, and they're looking at me in an expression that I couldn't see when I was looking in the camera taking the picture. And it's like, this is the kind of thing that I'm just having to process, and it's like, I don't feel like I'm in an actual physical danger. Consciously, I certainly don't feel like I'm in any kind of extreme physical danger. I might be in somewhat larger physical danger than any of you, but it's not significant, not in this country, not yet. And let's keep it that way. So I don't want to suggest that that's how I walk around all the time in terms of, living in fear, because I don't. But, yeah. That's exactly right. Just as a perfect example, T-Dog Lives just said, maybe those that took bills kill all the progressives joke seriously. I didn't say kill all the progressives. I said if a car comes into Texas with California tags, you should open fire on it immediately and not ask any questions. And I wouldn't use small arms either. If you have a rocket launcher, a mortar, grenades going up from the air, whatever, don't take any chances. They're going to come in and ruin your state. So now, a lot of Google searches are, it's like, Bill Whittle calls for the murder of American citizens. And the people that saw the video know I was kidding, because when the first story appeared, it was like conservative blogger, quote, jokingly calls for it, and they ran the video. But everybody who picked it up downstream, the jokingly went away, and the video wasn't there. And so, some people actually really believe that, and I get that sometimes. And it gets to you. You really just, you don't get to walk away from it. You really, and the thing that's the worst about this is, and I don't think there's an exception to what I'm about to say, I do not recall ever. It's not true. It's interesting that there is one example that proves that I'm not making this up. I wrote an essay, probably my fourth or fifth essay, at Eject. It was real early, and it was called War, and it was the case for Iraq. And somebody wrote a point-by-point response to what I had said, and they were actually engaging me with the arguments I had made. And that was 12 years ago, maybe. Since then, the criticisms and the comments I get, there's not a single person, I've not seen a single comment that ever addressed anything I actually said. And didn't put words in my mouth or feelings into my heart. I get called a racist all the time. I'm an anti-racist. If it turns out that Tyrone, for God's sakes, what's his name? It's gone. Michael Brown in Ferguson. If it turned out that he was innocent and was in fact going to the store and was assassinated by a policeman, then I'd be on the side of Michael Brown. But when he didn't do that, when he assaulted the policeman and tried to get his gun away, and when the country is turning that into a cause for something that didn't happen in order to gin up a black population to keep a black president in office so that they can continue to be held in slavery, that's not racism. That's actually love for people. It's actually a love for people and a desire to see them want to succeed as well as anybody else in this country. And I get a little tired of these names being ladled on me. And doing the dating scene out here in California, by the way, I can't tell you how many times I would meet somebody or I'd be talking to somebody and they're just as smitten as you could possibly imagine. And who can blame them? And then all of a sudden they find out that you're conservative, and it's like the light goes out like that, because now all of a sudden, I'm a Nazi. And I've had this happen after 3 or 4 hours, where people just completely entranced and enamored, think I'm a nice, charming, lovely, wonderful person, because I am. And then they find out that I'm a conservative, and then it's like the lights go out. And I realized that these people are now trusting what Bill Maher says about me more than they've been able to perceive with their own last 3 hours of being with me. Scott says he feels my pain, brother. He does feel my pain, and he is my brother. He's one of my brothers, and I have very few. But Scott's one of them. And they don't even have the courage to attack you for what you believe. They have to make up arguments that you didn't make and attack those arguments. Now, ultimately, that's an indication that we're right. It's like if you have to manufacture racist signs and take them to a Tea Party. If you're a progressive and you have to manufacture a racist sign and take it to a Tea Party event and hold it up to prove that the Tea Party is racist because there are no racist signs there, that's evidence that you're wrong. That's evidence that we're right. Now, with all of this said, I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. I was out at dinner 2 nights ago or something, 3 nights ago, sitting in a restaurant, and I called for the check and to have the food put in a bag. And this waitress comes up to me and she says, the gentleman over there wants to buy your dinner. I'd never seen this person in my life. And I said, are you sure you got that right? Yeah, he'd like to buy your dinner. And for almost all of my life, I would have just said, oh, that's very kind. And I would have gone over and I would have thanked him and declined, because it doesn't seem to me, just seems improper. But I was corrected on this, and I listened to this correction. I was corrected on this. I said, no, people need to, if somebody makes a gesture like that, they want to show you their appreciation, and it's insulting to them to not accept it. And I've come to that place reluctantly. It's not easy for me, but I did. And I just went over and spent a few minutes talking with the guy, and he said, I was never really into politics. I believe a lot of nonsense. I started listening to you, and you just really turned all the lights on for me. And it's, well, thank you. It made my day and week and month and year. Yeah, so it's definitely got its upside. And I've had to cut a lot of people out of my life lately. There's a lot of people that just, I think, were not necessarily using me, although there was some of that. There were just people who were just, not just net drains, but almost complete drains of people I used to just the highest opinion of. I mean, just an enormously high opinion of. And I just realized, no, they're taking advantage of me, and they're they're just using me, frankly. It's all there is to it. You just need to wake up, kid. You need to be tough enough to get up and face this music. And as Maltz42 says, yeah, it would be a lot easier if I didn't live in a sea of liberalism, but I have to be here. And so, look, this is sounding a lot more weepy and sad than I want it to, but I got the question and I thought I'd answer it. It's been a really rough summer, and we're going to buckle down and we're going to get to work, and the airplane helps enormously. And I have to tell you, going to Oshkosh with Burt Rutan and being with pilots helped a lot. But I don't know if you're still with us there, Foghorn, but that one day going down there and getting an actual call sign from actual fighter pilots, that charged me for a year. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And I'm reconnecting with some older friends I had, watching college football games, watching the Gators again, because the big, fat, dumb, ugly guy's not coaching them anymore, so we have some kind of hope, I think. So anyway, yes, Dave Butchner just said, so glad we do the show so that people can tell me that we appreciate you. I get that all the time from people. I don't want to sound like I don't. It has made my life. I was completely anonymous, completely unknown. I had a lot of things to say, and nobody knew who I was, and it was terrible. And this has been, by a million miles, the best thing that's ever happened to me. But, I personally have done, I don't know what the number is, but it's easily in excess of 2,000 video segments, easily in excess of that, and it might be 3,000. I mean, Scotty and I have done almost 1,800 trifectas alone, 1,700, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700, 1,700. Plus, I've got probably 300 afterburners and 100 firewalls and stuff. That's a lot of stuff. And I've just finished 95 time over targets for members. It's a lot of stuff. And there's not only so much you can say, because I keep surprising myself that I'm able to say anything that even I find interesting anymore, but just so you know about this going to the reserves back in 17 months from now or whatever, is then I'll be able to make comments on things that I want to do it. If it comes up every week or month or whatever, I can say something I need to say. But when I do get to work on movies and I get to write something that's not first person singular in the present tense, when I get a chance to write something where I can use villains and music and pacing, and I can hide the point I'm trying to make and reveal it a little bit. I can use people's actions. I can use flawed people. I can use language that I don't use. I can do all kinds of things about just in the toolbox, just as a writer and as a director and stuff. That's a big deal. That's enormously satisfying. But working with people, one of the things that meant so much to me about the trip down there to MacDill was I'd never met these people before. I hadn't even met Foghorn before. And all of a sudden, I'm out there flying with guys who are far better pilots than me, and I'm an excellent pilot. And by the time I go, these people are calling me brother, and I believe them. And just to be around people who are competent and capable and care and love this country, love it, are ready to give their lives for it. Go out there and kill bad guys on a daily basis. Just being in the company of people like that really means an awful lot to me. Scott Ott means a lot to me. Scott, you have no idea how much support you've given me. You just have no idea you really don't have any real appreciation of just what having you a friend means to me. Because I know you go through this, and you're a much, 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 much better man than I am. So, So, we have our warrior friends. I miss Andrew Breitbart an awful lot. I miss him a lot. I miss what he would be saying. I miss his moral clarity very much. And it's just nice for me to be able to get back and collaborate with people. And when I say collaborate with people, I mean, guys like Scott and Steve, and not that, malignant lowlife Andrew Clavin, who's been riding on my coattails for years now and apparently has written a book of some kind that no one's read. But anyway, so I've heard people refer to bill time, and it's true. And I lose a lot of sleep over bill time. I really do. I stress over it a lot. It's just overwhelming sometimes. Just the amount of just coal that just has to be shoveled just to stay in place. And I've been trying to do that and find the energy to get these movies done as well. And I just don't have the juice for it. So it was a real liberation for me. 3 weeks ago, when I finally realized that there was a rotation home date for me. And I know I don't want to steal, again, I'm very sensitive about stealing military glory, but I think in military terms in a lot of ways. And I do think that, January of 20th or whatever the date is of 2017, I'm going home. I'm not going away, and I'm not done, and it's not like you're never going to see me again. I love the Stratosphere Lounge. It's not work. It's absolutely fun. But on that date, I hope I can, come back with some honor and say I did my 3 terms of 4 years each and did the best I could. And then I can continue to do the work because, frankly, the movies have always been something I want to do, and they've always been something that was fun and could pay well. But this is a good note for me to end on because I don't want anybody feeling sad about all this stuff. Ultimately, the main reason I want to do these movies like Big Bad Problems is because it is enormously magnifying of what I want to say. Doing a film is like the ring of power. I mean, it's doing films If I do a movie like Big Bad Problems, which doesn't have a lot of political overtones, almost none, it's a science fiction horror comedy. There's a science fiction horror comedy about two brothers who are trying to figure out how to be men. And they have their own guns, and they have their own cars, and people in this convoy are a little militia. They have their own air force. They have their own tech. They have their own drones. They have their own surveillance. They have their own everything. They're trying to stop this threat from another world, and their government is trying to prevent them from doing this. It's funny, and it's cool, and it's scary, and it's clever, and it's got music and pacing, and there's just neat stuff flying around, and it's a great story. It's actually a great story. It's a story about finding who you are. It's the journey of the hero. It's the people stepping up into their kingship. It's a terrific story, and I can't wait to do it. So if you're thinking that it's like, boy, I just can't wait to get out of here so I can just, get out of the fight, that's not it at all. I need to do what I'm doing now while I'm good at it and get through one more election cycle, and then I need to really just step up and out, because I don't want to reach conservatives. Conservatives already get it. I want 15, 16-year-old boys to see these things and just go, oh man, that's pretty awesome. Stepping up and defending that girl there was pretty cool, and she can take care of herself too. And look at that, they built their own thing, and that guy's flying an airplane. It looks like a spaceship, but it looks real. And it's I wanna do for these people what was done for me with things like that Werner von Braun animation on the Wonderful World of Disney, or the Thunderbirds and stuff. I want to do all that stuff. So anyway, that's the plan. But yeah, I really don't want to go out of this answering. I guess a great question, honest question, gave you an honest answer. I don't want people thinking, I'm about to keel over, and I don't want people thinking, gee, poor sad Bill, it's just really awful, being him. When people come up to me in an airport, I don't know if I mentioned this before. I don't want to harp on this because this is a little braggy, but I don't want to sound braggy, but it's important, and it's not really a reflection of me. It's really more of a reflection of you. I was dating somebody pretty famous for a while, and she'd been, not only was she pretty famous, she'd been around the most famous people in the world. And she said, we were in Vegas, and I got approached twice in Vegas. Just people, just two times, same thing. Very shy kind of a thing, kind of like somebody just would come up and say, are you Bill Whittle? I said, yeah. I said, hey, I really hate to interrupt you. I just want to thank you for everything and just tell you, you're doing really great work, and it really means a lot to me, and it really helps and clarifies things and stuff. Well, thank you very much. It's really sweet of you. It means the world to me. And after that happened the second time, she said, I've been around some of the most famous people in the world. And what happens in those cases is people come up and they want to be photographed with you. They want evidence that they met you. They want to prove to their friends that you were in their company, and it's kind of a cool kind of a thing to brag about. But she said, that's not what I'm seeing here. They're not looking for the fact that they met you, and they're not trying to get any evidence. They're thanking you, basically, is what they're doing. They're actually, you can see them overcoming their natural politeness and reserve, and they're taking that kind of risk to come over here and thank you for the work that you do. And it's a profound thing. I mean, it just made me so much better person than I used to be, and it happens to me frequently, and I absolutely love it. So I don't want you guys to think anything other than that, really. It's just, you're out here, you're defending these ideas, you get a lot of hate. Scotty can, Scott, you need to do a show. It's very simple. It'll look better than PJTV lately, at least you'll be, there'll be video. It's real simple to set up. I'd be happy to talk to you about it, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. I know I'm not joking, Scott Ott's the best man I know. He really is the best man I know. And Scott gets it too. Scott gets these criticisms. Scott, was accused, he ran the only clean campaign in the history of politics, basically, and you just have to face it, because it is a form of combat. It's not equivalent to the real combat, but it's, you can come away with these things hurt. It hurts. It hurts a lot when people take something that ridiculous seriously. Like somebody actually honestly would believe that I would actually be in favor of like opening fire and killing people. It hurts that people could be that mean, because I don't think anybody really believes it. I think they're just saying it because they want to strike back. And some of these YouTube comments, they're just, I don't read them anymore. I really don't. I just glance when I go to link them or something. And it's it hurts because it's unfair. It's not true. It drives me nuts. So anyway, I may be, I've made a promise that I mean to keep, and that is I'm going to fly my airplane when it cools down a little bit back down to Tampa, Florida, and go to Night Field and hang out with my buddies, who, once again, I should just, because I've got it here, I just want to remind you one more time, these Air Force pilot friends of mine who gave me my call sign in their brand new flight uniforms. Yeah, I want to go hang out with these guys some more. And I'm going to fly down there, and it'll take me a week, and we'll fly around and we'll have a good time. Then I'll fly back, and that kind of thing gives me an awful lot of support and pleasure. It's good to be. The reason I bring this up is because having had experiences like that, where complete strangers take you in. People you admire and respect, and people who are what you always wanted to be, basically. They're what you always wanted to be. When they do something like that for you, it is so moving and so it's such an honor that it just so outweighs all of the negatives. You can't even really talk about them in the same sentence. Anyway, that's about it. People have asked me many times, why do you live there? Why don't you live someplace where people will like you and they don't treat you like you're some kind of circus freak when they find out what you do? It would be nice if they just treated me like a circus freak. They don't treat me like a circus freak. They treat me like a guy who skins dogs alive for dog stew. The reason I stay here is because if you're a volcanologist, you got to live under the volcano, right? I mean, you can't study a volcano if you're on the other side of the planet. So anyway, I'm looking forward to turning this room into a movie production studio, and I'm looking forward to getting the message out there to younger people, many millions more of them. I'm looking forward to getting messages to them that they don't even realize are a message. And finally, I'm looking forward to collaborating with people again and really just getting a chance to do it. Because when you're on a movie set with people and you have a chance to do your own work, there's nothing like it. It is the most fun thing in the world. And the thing I think I'll say finally is, I always say finally, when you write a character and you put a lot of work into a character and you try to, what you're basically doing is you're looking at this gigantic funnel of reality. It's all reality. It's just nothing but this reality. And then as a writer, you have to kind of funnel all of this thing down and reduce it to a series of little black marks on a white piece of paper. And then an actor takes that distilled, refined reality, which is really just a couple of sentences of he moves to the door, and then a couple of lines of dialogue, and then they have to rehydrate that kind of thing and expand it back out into a real person that looks like it belongs in reality again. So when you do that as a writer, and then also if you get to be fortunate enough as a director and you even get to cast these people, the most amazing thing about the collaboration in movies is that when a good actor takes your lines and your limited amount of stuff that you've given them, and they surprise you by bringing that character that you created into sharper focus than you ever had them, when when they do things that are like, man, I never thought of that. That's exactly right. This person that I created is actually more real than they were. And that happens all the time on a good movie. And when you have a scene lit and a lighting director comes along and he does something with the lighting or the angle, or you look at it and go, my God, that's just so much more beautiful than I ever thought it was going to be. So, yeah, it's tremendously fun collaborating, and I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. But first things first, let's make sure that this thin-skinned, traitorous, narcissistic harpy doesn't get elected, because I don't know if we can bear it. Anyway, somebody said, I can't imagine the last Stratosphere Lounge. There's not going to be a last Stratosphere Lounge. We're going to be doing Stratosphere Lounges till the day I die. Honestly. I'm just going to keep doing them. We'll be doing them about movies. We'll be doing them about everything. And like I said, it's not going home. It's not retiring. It's just, going from active duty into the reserves. And I'll come out, 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. And we'll still keep doing this, but we'll be doing better things, not less things. Well,